My name is Omar Moussin. I work for the UN Office of Digital Emerging Technologies. It's hard to take the floor after this brilliant presentation by Mike. And I'm here to talk to you about about the release of this report. This has been a report that's been in the work for a long time, thanks to our partner and friend, Sachiko Moto, who's gonna talk about it. But this report summarizes what happened last year at the UN Open Source Week. Raise your hand if you attended the UN Open Source Week, either last year or the year before. Oh, wow. I did not expect that. Thank you. Thank you for all those who didn't attend. Those who did not attend, we need to talk. No, you're welcome for next year. So basically, the UN Open Source Week is a discussion, is a global discussion that we're trying to have as a UN. Our superpower at the UN is the convening power. I have children, and all they like to talk about is superpower. So they ask me, what's your superpower at the UN? And actually, we don't have, our main superpower is that we speak with everyone, we talk to everyone. So we try to use that superpower to have a global discussion around open source. So that's really the idea behind the Open Source Week, where we try to get countries from all over the world, from all over the industry to come together. And last year was the first time we made it a week. It used to be 3 days, and then we were like, let's have more fun, let's make it a week. Promise is not gonna grow more than that. And the report, and Sachiko is going to talk about, really summarize all what that happened during that week. So the week was, we started with 2 days where we called it the Tech Takeover the UN, or UN Takeover. And here was really more about an action day. So here we had a hackathon where we asked, we want to really show the proof that open source is there to help us, UN, deliver on our mandate. So the hackathon, we said, hey world, come help us. There's this UNICEF software called GeoSite that is open source, but needs so many more functionalities. Come build it for us. And we had 200 people at the UN hacking over 2 days. And actually the result is now deployed. Last month, UNICEF deployed 2 new modules that came only through that hackathon. We also had Maintainathon, and the hackathon, our partner were the Apache Software Foundation, thanks to Ruth and the colleague. We had also LPI, the Linux Professional Institute, and UNICEF. Then we also had a Maintainathon, because open source is not about only hacking, it's about maintaining. And here our partner was the Sovereign Tech Agency of Germany. Thank you for your support. And then we had an Editathon, where we asked people to edit Wikipedia pages, because open data is also part of it. After that, we had a full day where we talked about open source, and we heard from some of the comments from the year before. We reduced the number of panels. Death by panel is a real thing. So we tried to reduce the panel, and we made it more hands-on. So there were a lot of more engaging, more discussions that we wanted to hear from everyone. And then after that, we had a full day dedicated to DPI, or Digital Public Infrastructure, where here we had government-heavy discussions about what are their different stacks and how can we make that open source. And the last day was where we had community-led event. And here, again, huge thanks to Sachiko, Claire, and Nick, and others who helped us. So the community-led day is not organized by us. It's just part of the UN Open Source Week, but it's events organized by you, by the community, by everybody, every one of you. And that was a very successful day. So on this, I just want to announce that the next UN Open Source Week, the dates are now known. Please open your phone, mark your calendar. It's going to be June 22 to 26, still in New York at the UN headquarters. And we're really happy to welcome all of you. This next year, there will be a new addition. We're changing the format to add a full day on open source and AI. So the Tuesday of the week will be dedicated on open source AI, and we're expecting to have even more attendance and from even more countries. So with that, pass it to Sachiko to talk about the report.
Oh, sorry, Omar, I don't think I have like 1 minute, so I'm not sure I'm going to summarize the report. There are some hard copies out there. You can also, I think we should get maybe before the end of the day, we get a link up so that you can look at it on your the electronic format as well. Actually, I just use 1 minute to say that it's been inspiring to work with Omar and the UN ODET for the last 3 years, organizing helping to organize this event, supporting it, and also writing up a report on the event. I think especially when we are focusing on European digital sovereignty, and we already heard Mike previously mention this, or similar a message to this, but I think it's important that we conceive digital sovereignty as not as a zero-sum game. I think it's important to remember that, you didn't mention the Global Digital Compact, but we are not only focusing on Europe, but also remembering that all the member states of the UN has made this promise, actually, to help also the rest of the world. It's not just about Europe versus China versus the US. It's about sort of having open, secure, and privacy-preserving digital public infrastructure for the whole world as the whole world gets to benefit from digital transformation. So I think I'm just going to say that. Those messages are also in the report. I'm going to hand over to Arno so that you get your minutes to talk about an announcement that you want to make. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. Just to say thank you to everyone, especially Omar, because one of the results of our participation in the Open Source Week in New York in 2025 result in our agreement when the City of Barcelona decided to endorse the UN Open Source Principles, being the first city doing this commitment with open source. And thanks to that, we have opened several policies in the City of Barcelona. We are creating our first OSPO in the city. We are creating a line of fundings on investments on open source projects funded by the city. And also we are creating a citizen council where we are trying to involve the citizens in the designing of open source technologies as a principle. We have a long trajectory promoting open source and open technologies, thanks to technologies like the CDIM. The CDIM has been an open source solution designed and developed by the public sector as a public policy. It is related also to democracy, and this success solution has opened a lot of doors to be here today and to explain the things that we are doing in Barcelona. And also we are trying to do some international and national collaborations at the same level. Just another announce that we are planning for the end of October this year in Barcelona, the Open Tech Week, following the stela of Open Source Week in Brussels and Open Source Week in New York. We want to have our own week. We have created an amazing agreement with Mozilla Foundation, with the Decidim Project, and with the City of Barcelona. And we are trying to invite all of you to be part of this moment where we are going to have a lot of different moments discussing open source and open tech public policies, but also we're going to be discussing with the grassroots movements working on digital rights and open source projects, trying to bring on the stage all the debates that we are having. Just one thing, because I'm the Director of Democratic Innovation in the City of Barcelona, and we want to point out the relation between open source and democracy. Open source is a path to democracy when we are thinking on the digital. We are having a huge opportunity in a very dark political moment to create public policies and put the digital rights and the citizen on the center. And this is why we want to bring also this debate, connection, the politics with the open source and free software solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arnaud. And for closing, I just want to say how incredibly proud we are that the City of Barcelona is now the first city in the whole world to endorse the UN open source principle. Raise your hand if you have endorsed, second and last raise of hand, please. If you endorse the UN open source principles. Oh, wow, that's more than I imagined. Thank you very much. So the UN open source principles were created by this community of practice that we created at the UN, where we bring together all the UN agencies who works on open source. Basically, the idea is like, what are the minimum principles that we want the world as a standard to define? What is open source? And they're 8. They're very easy. Nobody violently opposes any of them. They just make sense. The first one is open by default. We are now enshrining, institutionalizing that by default, whatever we do is open. The second principle is also makes sense, but we don't talk a lot about it, is called contribute back. Open source is not one way. You have to give back. The third one is what we call RISE, for recognize and incentivize the people who work for you. The fourth one is about documenting. Fifth one is about security. They just make sense, but we wanted them to be there and put them in writing and have as many organizations as possible to endorse them. We're happy to have Government of France is the first government to endorse them. Now we're going to announce next month that the South African government has endorsed them, and today, just today, we will issue that the Schleswig-Holstein is the first regional government to endorse them. We have a lot of private sector companies, we have a lot of civil societies, academia, but now we have the first city, and hopefully a lot more cities will follow. So happy that I hope Barcelona will inspire other cities to join us. Thank you.